So as you guys may remember, last year in April or potentially May, I attended a romance festival in Edinburgh, and prior to the event I made a video talking about all of the books and authors that I would like to read from before the festival. This is that video but for 2023. So if you guys don't know what Rare is, it is a romance festival that every year alternates between Edinburgh and London. They also have a continental, like, European city every year, and this year they're also in Melbourne. So the three events for this year are Melbourne, Florence, which is in September. It's actually the day before I go to Rome for my group trip, which is frustrating because I don't think I could go to both, and I don't think there's any tickets for Florence available now. And then the one that I'm attending is London in July. So the Rare stands for Romance, Author and Reader event, and it's kind of like Book Bonanza, and I think a Polycon is similar as well, where it's just a room full of romance authors and you go and you get your book signed, you can have photos, you can talk, you can buy books while you're there. And yeah, it was just a really good time when we went in Edinburgh last year. So we're going to London, and I have to say, of the three 2023 events, London definitely has the worst lineup. I think there are 20 authors-ish in total that I want to talk to you guys about today, which is less than last time. And I'm just going to make my way through as many as possible before we get to July. So I do not know the most about a lot of these books, because even the ones that I own, I picked up a lot of them at Rare in Edinburgh from like repeat authors. So the most, not the most interesting, but the most interesting in terms of I don't understand why, author that is there is Adrian Young, who I would not consider to be a romance author. I would consider to be a fantasy author, but I do own two books from Adrian Young, so I may as well read them. The first one I'm not all that interested in. I think this is actually on my self-destructing books for 2022 list, which we'll find out in March, but this one is Fable. This one is about a girl who's left on an island by her father, and all she wants to do is find her father again, so she... Is it a trader or like a pirate captain to help get her off the island? I also have Spells for Forgetting by Adrian Young. This one is the adult Fairy Loot edition. This one was actually a Fairy Loot one as well. This one is about a girl whose boyfriend, like high school sweetheart, is accused of murdering her best friend just before graduation. And she was supposed to like leave town and go to the big city and live her life. And she ends up staying in the town where she grew up in. And the boy who was her high school sweetheart returns to the town. So like both of these are romantic subplot kind of books, but I wouldn't consider them, I wouldn't even consider them like fantasy romance, I guess. Based on what I know, I obviously haven't read them. One of the authors that I'm most interested in seeing, I feel, even though I haven't read any of her books yet, is Anna Huang, who is the author of the Twisted series. This series, I think, is kind of like a, I don't know if it's good girl, but I feel like it's definitely like bad boy kind of romances. And this one in particular is about a guy and his best friend's little sister, which is a trope that I really enjoy. It is an adult romance though, I think, so even though it's like his best friend's sister, they are both like, I'd say at least around 20. A paranormal author that's going to be at Rare is Lana Pachurzik, who is the author of the Fey Guardian series, the first book being The Longing of Lone Wolves. I actually own the first 4 books in this series. I think the first 3 are wolf shifters, and then it moves on to vampires. Like there's I guess sub-series within the Fey Guardian series as a whole, and all I know about this one is that it is about like a different paranormal creature, so first 3 being wolf shifters, and it's like a different couple per book. But a lot of people in my Patreon Discord really like this series, which is why I have a copy, so I'm hoping that I will also enjoy it. And the rest of the ones that I own are all ones that I actually picked up at Rare. So one of the authors who I have 3 books from is Tracy Lorraine. I believe that all of these were on the free table, and I picked them up because it looks like Tracy Lorraine writes really like angsty romances, which you guys know I eat up even though they're terrible. I think Tracy Lorraine's most popular book is Thorn, which is the first book in the Rosewood High series. This one has one of my favorite tropes, which is the bad boy good girl dynamic, and it seems from the back that it is a little bit of a bully romance as well. It's about a girl who starts attending this school, and the love interest takes a disliking to her and wants her gone. Once again, a book that has the bad boy and good girl dynamic is Hate You, which is the first book in the Rebel Ink series. Literally, the synopses on here just establish the fact that these guys hate these girls for very little reason because they're spoiled and rich. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a case of if I like one of them, I'll probably end up loving them all. And then the last one I have by Tracy Lorraine is The Revenge You Seek. This one is more of a revenge romance where it's once again, I think, bad boy and good girl, but this time he actually has a reason for disliking her. She's like personally offended him. These were free. I picked them up. I don't know if I'll like them, but if I do, I'm really excited because it's just like endless amounts of angst, it seems. One that I really do want to get to soon, but I actually want to make a vlog around it, which is why I still haven't read them, is the Supernatural Dating Agency series by Andy M. Long, which isn't my usual kind of book, but these are set in a small seaside town that is very close to me. And I actually asked Andy M. Long when I met her in Edinburgh, why did you choose to set your series in this dead-end town? And she said because she was getting a bus there one day, or a bus through there, and she thought only the dead would live here. And I'm like, girl, you ain't wrong. So I want to go to that town and read the books there. They are only short, so it is possible. But this one is about a woman who has a supernatural dating agency where she helps paranormal supernatural creatures find their true matches. And the first one is about a vampire who wants a wife. And this one is a prequel novella. I picked this one up because I think it was like 99 pence, and then this novella was on the free table as well. So now we're getting into all of the ones that I don't own, but the majority of them are on Kindle Unlimited. The first one is by Alexi Blake, who I think more commonly writes as May Sage, and this one is The Cursed Crown. It is once again a fairy romance. So the synopsis sounds interesting. I'm just a little bit dubious because the average rating on this one is only a 3.62. Whereas funnily enough, all of the books that I weren't interested in had a really high average rating, like above 4 stars. And all of the ones that I thought sounded good had a rating of like between 3.5 and 3.8. So this one is about I think she's a half fae princess, and she doesn't want to rule because she's half fae. She doesn't think she's suited to it. And a king decides that she has to unite the Sealy court. So he decides that she's going to be the ruler, and to stop this from happening, she goes searching for a cursed prince who has a stronger claim to the throne than she does. Sounds interesting, gorgeous cover, high fantasy, but a kind of mediocre-ish average rating. I also have a contemporary romance on here that sounded interesting, which is Forever After All by Katharina Mora. This one is about a girl who went to a gentleman's club to offer her body in exchange for her mother's life, and she finds a guy there who offers a marriage of convenience to help her out instead. Had an interesting cover, average rating 4.6, and it has a decent amount of ratings. It's got nearly 18,000 ratings, so I felt like this was a pretty solid bet. The synopsis in itself doesn't sound like mind-blowing, but it sounds like something that I might be interested in. Another contemporary that sounds super angsty is Kaleidoscope Hearts by Claire Contreras. This one has an average rating of 4.03 with almost 25,000 ratings, so once again I feel like it's a solid bet. And this one is about a girl and her older brother's best friend, which, like I said, is a trope that I enjoy, and they were attracted to each other and wanted to get it out of their system, so they did, and he left, but now he's back and they're resolving all of the issues that they have going on, assumedly their attraction, and also I'm assuming the betrayal that she's feeling considering he left. Oh my god, I forgot one of the ones that I own because I only just got it. I'll be back in a minute. I've just picked up a copy of one of the ones that I'm most excited to read from the sale section of Forbidden Planet in London, which is The Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. This one is the first book in a high fantasy trilogy that is following the Mousai, who are the sorceresses of the Thief Kingdom. This one is about the youngest of the Mousai, who is given her first solo mission, which is to stop a duke who is siphoning a poisonous drug from the Thief Kingdom, and along the way she finds herself falling for his heir. One that's kind of a maybe that I'm vaguely interested in is Dirty Wicked Prince by Eden O'Neill. This one is a contemporary romance that's set in a school. It is a bully romance situation again, and it is about a girl who is on the radar of the legacy boys at the Slope Prep School, and they're making her life a living hell. I feel like a lot of these, especially ones like this, I'm gonna dip into, and if I don't like them, then I'll bounce out really quick, but it's one that kind of like piqued my interest slightly. One that isn't my usual vibe but sounded kind of cute is Slouch Witch by Helen Harper. This one is the first book in the Lazy Girl's Guide to Magic series, in which we are following a girl who is a witch but she's lazy. She doesn't want to do her job. And there is a case of mistaken identity, and she ends up working in like a paranormal investigation bureau where she has to team up with this guy to find a hidden object. This one just sounded like a really cozy, like paranormal investigation kind of novel, and I feel like I would enjoy it if I read it in the right headspace. One that I've been seeing around is What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. This one is once again a fae romance, and this one reminds me a little bit of Savage Lands because it's set in a world where the world of the humans is separated from the world of the fae by a veil, and the humans live this life of purity up until the day where the veil falls and the main character has to run for her life. One that sounds like something that I may enjoy is Dirty Like Me by Jane Diamond. This one's a rock star romance. I'm the 17-year-old emo kid that I used to be and still kind of am, minus being 17 sadly, thinks that this one might be interesting. But it's about a girl who is a barista, and she takes a job as a like the love interest in a music video to earn a little bit of extra money, and she ends up hitting it off with this rock star, and it's a romance between those two. Another fae romance is Of Mist and Shadow by Jenna Wolfhart. This one is about a girl who is caught stealing from a king, a fae king, so he takes her as his kind of prisoner but says that she can be his human bride, but he treats her terribly, so she escapes and ends up running into the clutches of a different king who offers her a bargain that she can go free if she uses a dagger that he gives her to kill the original king that she came from, and she has to make the decision of which king she's going to kill. An author that I've heard pretty good things about is Juliet Cross, who pretty much writes cozy fantasy, I believe. I would like to read at least the first book in the Stay a Spell series, which is Wolf Gone Wild, and this one is about a werewolf who has been unable to shift for the last 3 months, and a witch who takes pity on him and tries to help him out. This one, once again, is one that I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy if I'm in the mood for it. So the next one you might think is a little bit odd, but hear me out, okay? I looked it up, I looked up the author, I looked at the cover, was typing it in my spreadsheet, like not gonna read this, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, you know what? I might actually enjoy this. This one is called Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. Look at that cover. Does that look like something I would read? Absolutely not. But it just seems to be a really cute romance about a woman falling in love with a firefighter that she's been best friends with since like nursery. So I'm willing to give it a try. It sounds cute. I might hate it. I may think it's twee, but something about the synopsis, it's the guy on the cover as well, I think, really sold it for me. So hopefully I enjoy this one. Another one that's kind of outside of my usual comfort zone, but I want to give a try, is The Last Witch by MJ Laurie. The reason why I wouldn't normally read something like this is that I feel like it is more paranormal, and I'm not really a paranormal girly, but the synopsis of this one just sounded interesting. It's a darker paranormal about a girl who is, I think she's the last witch, and she's the most powerful woman in the world, and she is destined to bring magic back to the world and save it. I have no idea who the love interest in this is because it says absolutely nothing about it. I just think it sounds pretty interesting. Similarly, one that has a title that I don't like and a cover that I don't like but has a synopsis that sounds good is No Man Can Tame by Miranda Honfler. This one is once again a fantasy romance about a elf and a human that have to get married to like join together the human and the elven kingdom, and they hate each other. The girl, the human girl, is not one that's well regarded among her people, and the prince has known all his life that his only value is in a marriage alliance, and they both don't like each other, so I'm assuming it's going to be an enemies to lovers. I would also like to read a book by Nicole Fiorina. I think that her contemporary romance sounds interesting as well, but the one that I'm most interested in reading is Hollow Heathens, which is a gothic romance, I believe. It is following a girl who moved away from the town that she was born in shortly after her birth, and she returns as an adult, and the love interest is a boy whose family has been cursed for generations. So sounds like something that I might be interested in, and I think the author is like has a background in poetry, so I feel like the writing could be really beautiful as well. One that I wasn't sure about to start start off with because it has not a low average rating, but it is pretty low in comparison to a lot of the things I was looking at while making the spreadsheet, is The Roommate by Rosie Danan, which has a average rating of 3.6, so not the lowest, but like we have stuff that I would never even think of reading that has like an average rating of 4.4 up in here. So this one is about a girl whose childhood crush invites her to move in with him, but for some reason she ends up sharing a flat with somebody else instead. The thing that sold me for this, because like I was vaguely interested, the rating put me off, but then I looked at my friend activity on it, and the majority of my friends have rated it 4 or 5 stars, like my Goodreads friends, so I thought I'd give it a try. And that was the last one. Wow. I would normally have done more of a lead up into that, but I didn't realize that was the last one when I got to it. So I'm not sure how many authors I actually ended up covering in this video, but that is kind of my priority list. There are a few more authors and a few more books that sounded vaguely interesting to me when I was going through, but they were more of like a maybe situation. And then we also have some stuff that I did mention in this video, like the Rockstar romance, which is definitely going to be a maybe, and also ones that like I'm really not sure about. They just sounded vaguely interesting, so I'll probably like sample 50 pages, and if I don't like them I'll DNF real quick. But I think of the ones that I've mentioned here today, there's a decent amount of fantasy romance there that I am actually interested in getting to, so I kind of want to prioritize that. But down in the comments, let me know if you've read from any of the authors that I've talked about today, and if you have, maybe you could give me some recommendations based on things that I enjoy. I like Bad Boy Good Girl, I like childhood best friends to lovers, I like enemies to lovers, I like office romance, I like fairy romance. So if you have any recommendations for those authors, then do let me know. I don't really like reverse harem, and I don't really love paranormal. So yeah, if you like this video, please don't forget to like if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish Kindle website, the Etsy for that, and a 10% off discount code. That's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.